Who were you before you lost your wild self?
That's what we're helping you explore on the Tend Her Wild podcast.
Through questions and tools around how best to listen to your inner voice,
rewild ourselves, and live the most authentic life where we thrive instead of survive.
I'm Betsy.
And I'm Kate.
And we're so glad you've joined us for this episode.
Hello, Tend Her Wild podcast listeners. Today, we are joined by a very special guest that we're so excited to have a conversation with. It's been kind of a long time coming. We've talked about having you on as a guest, and I'm just thrilled that you said yes. And so we're going to introduce you to Sarah Van Cleve. She's a somatic practitioner, a facilitator, a death doula, a mother, a gardener, devoted life lover, and future ancestor. Love that. She's the founder of Soul House Wellness, where she weaves together yoga, sound healing, somatic practice, and leadership development. A Black radical and professional agitator. Love that too. Sarah's work is rooted in a fierce devotion to social justice, accessibility, and the kind of healing that tells the truth. She creates spaces that invite people to find safety within themselves, tend to what is honest, and practice more courageous ways of being in community. What a great bio.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. So excited to be here.
We're so thrilled to have you. And that's a great bio.
Yeah. And in that bio, the thing's sticking out to me, just like truth. And so we're excited to dip into that space today and have truthful, real conversations about the work that you're doing, which is as an agitator and a social justice lover, this is going to be a powerful conversation. So
yes, I'm so excited.
Good. We are too.
Yay.
So we like to start early in your life. And it sounds like you do have a story about those first 10 years and how you entered this life and how you were shaped by that first decade.
I do. You know, I've been thinking a lot about my first 10 years of life as I've listened to some of your podcast episodes in the past couple weeks. And I'm like, wow, these people, they have really rich childhoods. And part of me is like, I feel like my childhood is just my own and, you know, something that is boring and benign. And as I dig into it, I'm like, maybe it's a little more exciting than I think. I was born and raised in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where I've lived my whole life. I was adopted at 3 months old, and I was adopted into an all-white family as the only person of color throughout my whole family. And my childhood, you know, was really happy. I was loved. I think the feeling of the knowledge of being adopted created a sense of being chosen or feeling chosen by my parents because of the way that it was framed. And my family was loving. I had friends. And then it was also like the age of innocence. It was kind of the time where as an adult, I can look back and see all of these different microaggressions that I experienced, but didn't yet have the language for. And then past 10, it was kind of like, wow, a lot of these things that made me feel valued or unique or special, I'm learning are people kind of fetishizing, fetishizing. I can never say that word.
Yeah.
Me a little bit.
Yeah.
So good and bad. It was a safe childhood in terms of physical and emotional safety within my home. And then it was also the source of a lot of pain with adoption.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have siblings?
I don't. Okay. Well, I have a half sister in my adopted family. So my adopted dad's daughter from a previous marriage. She's 20 years older than me, so we never grew up in the home. But I found out a couple of years ago that I actually have 8 biological siblings out there in the world. So that was kind of crazy.
Have you met?
I have met all but 2.
And how was that?
It was insane. It's literally a movie. Like I just couldn't even make it up. Couldn't make it up.
If you're open to it, tell us about that, like kind of reunion.
Yeah. I did a 23andMe genetic test because I've always been super interested. I've always known I was adopted. When I was 18, I started looking for my biological mother. We had a closed adoption, so I wasn't able to find much. Somewhere in my records, I found a name. And in the 90s, at the time, there was a really famous court case of an adoption where a mother had given the baby away and changed her mind. So it was kind of crazy in adoption world. And there were a lot of things put in place to protect biological mothers and also adoptive families from that happening again. So my mom's identity was concealed. I found one piece of information with her real name. I connected with her early in my 20s. And she was like, I have no idea who your dad is. He's just a big black man, which isn't helpful for me on the search. Later, I did 23andMe, thinking I would find someone. I found 2 siblings, and one was a brown person. And I was like, oh, okay, so she's my sibling from my dad's side. And then I found a white woman, and I was so confused because I'm like, the math doesn't math. And my mom ended up having another child out there who she also put up for adoption. So it was just like crazy. I connected with my siblings on my dad's side. The one sibling led me to our other 5 siblings and their moms. And we ended up meeting in Arizona within like 6 months, all of us.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just like, it was insane. In that time, our dad died. So I was able to talk with my dad. He didn't know I existed. Okay. My dad had quite a run in the 90s. We're all born within like 3 years of each other every 6 months.
So you're very close in age.
Very close in age. Yes, some of us are the same age right now. And he was like, well, I didn't know about you, but I'm really glad you're here. Love you. And I was like, thanks. He ended up dying, but my siblings and I had that reunion planned actually like 2 weeks after his death. So
synchronicity of that.
It's just crazy. So the first time I met 2 of my sisters and my dad was at his funeral. And then I met the rest of them a couple weeks later.
Was there closure, or at least maybe not closure, but was there, how did that feel for you to kind of suddenly go from being, I guess, an only child, really growing up
in a white family?
Yeah, it was, it's like a fairy tale, as a kid. I feel like as an only child, I really gravitated towards my friends with big families. Like I loved the chaos. I loved the noise. I was grounded a lot. So I was always alone and in my room, imagining siblings. And my friends all had siblings. And I was like, oh, I would die for siblings. And it was like my childhood dream came true. And I try and remember how that felt because those were some of the easiest relationships I've ever made. And I think you feel when things are aligned and when you have to force it. And when things are so easy, it just kind of reminds you like, oh, this is what positive relationship feels like. They accepted me like that.
Wow.
And I talk to all of them on a regular basis.
Wow.
So you've kept a relationship.
Oh, yes.
That's great.
And did you see yourself? I feel like we learn so much in relationships are such mirrors to us. Did you see yourself, whether it was physical attributes or personality attributes or humor in these siblings?
Yes.
Like that genetic link?
We all look really similar. So one of my sisters, the first time I saw her, I was like, oh my God, that's me. And I was like, wait, no. Besides my own kids, I've never seen people that looked like me. So it's almost an immediate recognition, like we're connected. And same thing with my mom. I found her on Facebook. She has a really common name. When I saw her, I was like, oh my God, you're the only person I've ever seen that looks like me ever. So it was just thank God for technology.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it never would have happened.
And you being able to reconnect to biological family, how has that shaped you and the work you're doing? And I
Mm,
mean, has it been a part of I'm assuming your development as a human being to
it
go back to those
has.
roots?
I grew up being the only person of color. So to have um, 6 other people who are also of color, who also have white moms. So understand what it's like to grow up as a biracial person in the
Mhm.
world. Um, it's just been amazing. Even though we've grown up in different areas of the country, our experiences are fairly similar. And most of my siblings are sisters. So it's really nice that
Mhm.
I have women to connect to
Got
like
them.
that.
Right.
Sisters. So key.
It really is.
We both have sisters,
Yeah.
so we get that.
It's just like
Yeah.
literally a dream. Couldn't make it up.
Yeah.
And the
Mhm.
idea that I think of you as a little girl wishing that you had, and makes me wonder if you somewhere knew maybe that you did and just didn't,
I
somewhere deep
mean,
down.
what I want to say is I manifested it, but
Of
like
course you did.
how, right? Yeah, it was really lonely growing up. At the time in the 90s, there were, I think, 2 other kids of color at my elementary school.
Mm.
And they were both also adopted and lived in my middle to upper
Okay.
class neighborhood. So there just was not a lot of socioeconomic um, or ethnic diversity
Yeah.
at all.
Where you were.
Hmm.
I'm curious in that you alluded to it that those first 10 years felt safe and happy and you were well cared for and you were loved. But as you matured, you could look back and realize there were these microaggressions that had happened, or there were
Hmm.
things that happened that maybe at the time it didn't feel right, but you didn't know how to articulate it. There was no words or even understanding of it. When did those lights start to come on for you in terms of like understanding what it was like to be the only biracial in a
Hmm.
white family? Like when did you start to be like, oh,
Well, middle school, I would
middle
say.
school?
Um, when I went to middle school, that was the first time I went to school with kids of different ethnicities, kids of different socioeconomic backgrounds. It was a wake up call. And I
Mm,
remember, I think my first experience of knowing like, oh shit, I'm different, was when I went to school with my hair straight. And my mom, bless her heart, didn't know what to put in my hair to make it actually flat. It was straight. It was just huge. And then there's all these other Black girls that know to use protective spray and oil and leave-in conditioner, and their hair gets flat. And I'm like, oh, and I got made fun of a lot.
mm,
Um, and then
mm.
I was like, well, we better figure this out pretty fast because this isn't going to work.
Yeah. So
Making
you're well-meaning mother,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
just limited information, it was Cedar Rapids in 2000. It just I mean, now maybe we have like 6% Black population, but
mhm,
then I'm sure it was like
much less.
2.
Yeah.
So just no resources for my parents. And also I think they just didn't know what it was that I would need. And I
Mhm.
didn't either. But school and discovering BET, the Black Entertainment
Mhm.
Network channel, that was a game changer. Yeah, seeing
Yourself and others.
yeah, and the music,
Mm,
just the different ways that I could relate, and those became important as I started to realize who I was. I experimented a lot with who I was and different ways I could express my Blackness, and in a lot of them were quite extreme,
mm.
probably extreme stereotypes that I saw on TV. But music has always remained something that is authentic and pure and things like that. It helped me to discover ways to fit in while still figuring it out.
Yeah. I'm really curious what your early interests were and like in school, like what you gravitated toward, what you participated in, what you enjoyed.
Choir. I've always been in choir. I play instruments, writing music, language arts. I love writing words because I was an only child. I read a lot, journaling, imaginary friends. I mean, I just have a very rich and deep and vivid inner life. I think that's because I was grounded a lot.
Literally grounded.
Literally grounded. I probably your room. Should be, yes. And I just was creative. And I was also labeled talented and gifted, which I think that as someone who is now in her mid 30s, recovering from that label is a thing because it was an odd thing to do to kids.
Yeah, separating us immediately.
Yes.
And
yeah. So being a talented and gifted young Black girl in a space with only white people, I was often told that my behavior was wrong if I worked ahead or was too loud or extroverted. So I stopped talking in school, became very quiet. And then that was a problem too. So it was always this like, there's certain people who, no matter what I'm doing, I'm not correct, but there's other people doing the same things I'm doing.
right.
And they seem to have an okay time.
It had to have been really confusing.
It was. Teachers started to dislike me for really weird stuff. And I was just like, I noticed something, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And then probably high school was when I started to have the knowledge and verbiage to understand, oh, this is racism.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Just as you say that, what I feel in my own body is weirdly almost a sense of relief, like to actually have a label, to fully understand that you had your whole life felt things, but not been able to label it or understand it or contextualize it.
Yeah.
And then to finally be able to be like, oh, this is what it is. But also there had to be deep pain with that as well. Like being able to have that word or that concept.
Yeah. I think I've always been a friend to all of my emotions. Anger is something that I'm okay sitting with. For better or worse, it's fueled a lot of important things in my life. I know it can't be our only sense of drive, but sometimes it gets things done.
It absolutely does.
And I think for me, the anger made me start saying stuff out loud. So every time I would see something, I'd be like,
you call it.
Look at the way that person walked. Or did you see how they said hi to you and not to me? And my mom is just like, you think too much about it. And I'm like, I noticed these things. And as I started to make more friends of color, I noticed that I was treated a lot differently when I was with them than when I was with my family. One of, I think, the best examples is traveling. I fly a lot with my mom. We used to work together and go on business trips. And my mom is a gorgeous, well-dressed, impeccably dressed, actually, white woman. And then there's me. And when we're together, we do TSA pre-check, we fly first class, we get right through the lines. She just talks, I stand there and, I smile and off I go. When I'm flying alone, I am treated so differently. When they check my ID or my passport, they are actually looking to verify that it's me instead of just letting my white mom validate me.
Wow.
I get my bag searched. I mean, I would only notice if I didn't have that experience with her. And those are the things that I'm like, this does not make any sense.
Yeah. And it doesn't.
I'm thinking too about the work, and we're going to talk about the work that you're doing in this world, but how just that example you gave us shows in many ways the power of what you came into, because you get to experience these two polarities. And most people of color wouldn't get to be in the other polarity behind the white mom, right?
Yeah.
So your capacity to really be a bridge and understand it in a different way has to just be such a part of why you're doing this kind of incredible work in the world.
Yeah, I feel like my proximity to whiteness is something that's important. and not just Caucasian people, but white culture or spaces that maybe someone who's darker than me wouldn't be able to access as easily, or places that I get into because I'm accompanied by my mom that people just literally don't have access to. And I feel like it's my duty to go and F everything up at those
Speak
places.
into it.
Yeah, respectfully.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and you sound like as a young person, you had an early sense of injustice.
Mm-hmm.
You were able to witness it, experience it, understand it wasn't okay, have anger around it, and then
I'm a strong Libra. Those scales weigh
There's
very
balance, though.
heavily.
That
Yes.
you want balance and justice, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So keep us going in your life and how this drive for balance and justice and being able to call things out and speak into things kept evolving for you, like after high school. How did this keep growing for you?
I think it was really fostered by my career in dental technology. I was a quality manager. So my job was just to look at things and say, yes, it meets our standard, or no, I need you to redo this. And I think one of the most important things about critiquing, in this case, we made teeth, dentures, crowns, retainers, but critiquing something that a human made is being able to look at a document and say, I'm not critiquing the work that Betsy did today, even though it was you. And I know you had a horrible day and you've got all this stuff going on. I'm looking at the piece of paper, not Betsy as a human. And I'm saying the shade isn't correct, not Betsy, you suck. So I got really good at giving feedback without kind of
Personalizing it.
yes, without personalizing it. Which sometimes is really great. And sometimes I probably need to like bring the person back in. But it primed me for having hard conversations because I could continue to talk about the thing without all of my emotion coming into play.
Wow.
Which was nice. I had kids and my son is Black. And I think as soon as he was born, I became extremely aware of the world he would live in. And it's terrified me. In 2020, with all of, the pandemic and the George Floyd murder, I was just so angry. I was horrified. I was really fed up at the companies and the people who shrunk, and who had always appeared values based. And at that moment, just kind of the values flew out the door.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I can't do it anymore. I really want to be in a place where I can do something that represents my values, and I don't have to turn it off when I go to work, or I don't have to damper it when I'm having conversations. Because I'm the type of person, when I hear a coworker say something offensive, I'm like, oh, let's say more. And I'm like, this also isn't making me any friends at work. It's making me a very hard coworker to be around because I was one of the only people of color. So in 2023, I left my career of like 16 years where I was making really great money and had insurance, and started Soul House Wellness.
Wow. But also it sounds like really stepped into your authenticity.
Yeah.
Like, I can't live in this world anymore.
Yeah. I took my yoga teacher training in 2020 during the pandemic, and we read Skill in Action, which I know you guys incorporated into yours.
Yeah.
I was also horrified that I was reading a book about this with white people. I was like, why am I sitting through this? It ended up being one of the best things I've ever done. It was a great group of people. But we were encouraged from that experience to have a community-based project. And that's where I was like, well, of course, I want to bring this to people of color. And so that Skill in Action book, that small cohort, taking the training isolated and just stuck together, and the community focus really propelled me.
What was your community project? I'm curious.
It was literally a people of color class. However, we were in a pandemic, so we couldn't do it. So it was just like, good thoughts, everyone. And, like see you. It
Mhm.
maybe not, because we don't know when it will end. And I ended up teaching at the studio I got my certification at.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I would be teaching if I hadn't have just had that job right away. And immediately, started teaching people of color.
And you have a specific class.
Yes, we
focused on that. I
do.
want to know about that and how that came about and how it goes. And
Well, it literally came about from the community service project.
okay,
It is at the Breathing Room in Cedar Rapids.
we love the breathing room.
We do. Shout out to Sarah Driscoll.
Totally. She's
Yes.
incredible.
She donates the space for us so that we can have a donation-based class. So it's 100% accessible for anyone who needs it. It is, I try and tailor it as much as I can to people of color. I don't use Sanskrit in that class because I feel like sometimes that is a barrier, especially to people who don't understand what yoga is.
Yeah.
And it's just easier not to. We play
get
music by Black and brown and queer people. We just hold space. I mean, we have people napping. We have people laughing during class. It's just been a really nice space to get people to come experience yoga. And I think it's safe. It's free.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to invest in something if we don't know if we'll like it.
Right.
And for some people, $20 is a lot of money.
Investment.
To
Yeah.
experiment with something that might not even be for me.
Yeah. And so just to make it free, most people are like, I really needed this.
Yeah. I wanted to know, what have you learned from people coming? Not only what have they said to you, and then also what have you learned by teaching? What have been some of the big lessons that have come out of it both ways?
I mean, I'm definitely learning how to hold space. I think of all the people that I've met and the things they've said. You know, I always am asking, how was class? And most of the time people are just like, fine. Sometimes people are like, I hated it. I hate yoga. I had a student tell me a couple of weeks ago, she's like, I hate yoga so much. And I was like, I actually know that you do. And she's like, but it's good for me. And so I know I need to do it. And I keep coming. And I'm like, oh, honesty, you know, that's what I want.
Yeah. That's was in your, when we first started today, in your bio was honesty, honesty, honesty. Yeah.
Because we can tell when you hate it, right? Like we're not stupid. When we look over and you're like grimacing and you're like, hurry up. Like
looking at your watch.
Exactly. We
sending
know.
daggers towards the teacher.
Yes. And that's me in class. I'll just say it out loud. Like, I hate you right now. I'm ready to get out of chair. But I want people to say that, because then they're like, oh, she's still going to make us do chair, but I can tell her that I hate it. And
that's safe here.
Yeah, it's safe.
I do sense with you that you, because maybe of the container you grew up in, you are now really conscious of the container that you're creating.
I am.
For people.
And I think because I'm an introvert, I spend a lot of time listening and watching, because I have to gauge how safe I am in a space and how I can act. So I'm always watching other people to see how they act. And kind of adjust. But that, you know, I didn't know at the time, you know, it's a strong leadership trait. When you're able to read a room, hold the energy, adjust accordingly. That's something that they don't teach you anywhere. And it's become a great skill.
Emotional intelligence.
Yes. And a lot of times in class, we just let people sleep. People fall asleep. And we let them, and that's what they need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Sarah, I had an aha a few moments ago, and I have to say it out loud. I feel like when you said I spent a lot of time grounded, and then you journaled, and I'm like, are grounded people that were grounded a lot more grounded?
No.
They spend more time.
Sarah was like, no.
I am really grounded, and I am also not grounded at all. I mean,
which is why you got grounded.
Yeah, which is why I was grounded. I just wanted, you know, I hated being told no. I hate being controlled. I am curious. I want to get out there and ask questions and experience. And yeah, it wasn't a great skill at 17. But it's serving me well now.
Yes, it is.
It's coming back around. So I want you to tell us about Soul House Wellness, because I I didn't know the story of you leaving this, job, like you said, where I had benefits and I'd done it for 16 years. So that's a big leap of faith to be like, I'm jumping into the wellness arena. So tell us about the genesis of that and all about Soul House Wellness.
Well, Soul House Wellness is a leadership and somatic wellness company. I do so many things because ADHD. So yoga, sound healing, somatic healing, end of life care, all of those wellness services I keep under Soul House. And then leadership consulting. My background is quality, customer service, compliance, quality. So it's still within me. And there's not a lot of that at yoga studios. There's not a lot of things I can like standardize and manage, So I'm like, yeah, I want to teach these skills to other people, especially I think people in wellness. We're so heart centered. We're like, you know what? We have a gift. We want to share it. And sometimes we don't always do the background administrative thought tank pieces of that
the
work.
linear piece of it. Yeah. We're very intuitive, but sometimes the logistics.
Yeah. And that's really important to me. And teaching people about how to create inclusive spaces. And so often, I think we assume that because we feel included and welcome in a space that everyone else does. And we don't always ask. And when we ask, I think there's so many well intentions that people aren't honest and they don't share. When you ask and you give people the space to respond, they will eventually. But sometimes you just have to keep asking. And I think it sometimes requires a different point of view to see things someone could do better. So through courses like My Radical Wellness or Difficult Conversations, or just looking at someone's physical business, their marketing, their physical location, and telling them ways that they could improve on accessibility or make their marketing pieces more inclusive. Those are ways I want to help. And those I think are really easy things that we just overlook.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it is the little things that make the big difference in companies. I'm curious too, as a Black woman doing this work, what does it mean to you? Because the wellness industry has traditionally kind of been very white led. And sometimes I question if is it really wellness, in some of these settings. So what has it meant for you? Because you feel so authentic in how you're doing this. And frankly, a little unique because you're more holistic about it. But what is it? How has it been, and what does it mean to you to be a Black woman in this space?
I think it's really special. I actually looked up today how many Black yoga teachers there are in America, and it said 6 to 7%, which is like 6,000. So there's just not many of us. I understand that I was super privileged to be able to afford my training. I have a friend right now who has like a core power yoga certification, not a 200-hour. She's Black. She can't get work anywhere. So even that certification, even though it is really important to yoga studios, is it? If someone knows what they're doing, I don't know. It can also be a barrier. So I feel really privileged to have had the financial access. I feel really blessed to be able to hold space for people of color. I want every Black person to remember, especially that we do have comedic yoga as well. And if we were to dig deep, comedic yoga comes from ancient
what is comedic?
Egypt.
Comedic yoga.
It's the African system of yoga. So it comes from ancient Egypt. It's based on the hieroglyphics that were in the tombs. And they are in yoga poses, these drawings. And just like in the Indian system of yoga, each pose represents a different, not always a god, but a different element, something just like in Indian yoga that we can kind of focus on when we're doing that pose. It's extremely similar, but it's different enough that it is different.
That's cool. I did not know that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. it's something I would like to learn more about. And there's like maybe one place in Chicago, I think, that certifies. So it's pretty niche, but I think too, it helps combat the whiteness.
Yes.
We can say, look, this literally originates from your culture as well.
Yeah.
And it's something special and unique that most people don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's powerful. If you go learn more about it, please share because it's super fascinating to me. So I am curious about this too. Why do you think wellness spaces often are missing or ignoring things like race and community and power? I'm curious about, you've done so much studying and reading and you've been in these spaces. Why do you think spaces miss that?
I think we're probably, again, making an assumption that everyone feels welcome. I hear shame come up a lot, doubt, just a lack of knowledge. I think it does take work, and I think it's uncomfortable work for a lot of us. And
I think for all of us.
Yeah, it's easier to avoid. It's just easier to be like, the people that are here, and hopefully they tell their friends, and it gets more colorful in here. But it takes a lot of work, as you guys know from having businesses. When you set a goal, you then really have to focus on it. It's not enough to just say it's a value or something important and then not do it. You have to do it. And I think a lot of wellness studios or small businesses, they don't have the team to do that. Oftentimes it's one or two people trying to do every role. And I think that we need to be honest about our capacity to do things like that. And if it's not something you're comfortable with orchestrating yourself, but it is a value, then it's worth finding someone else to do that work for you. And so I think it's just more complicated, than someone ignoring it.
Right. You're such an intentional person. I feel like you live very intentionally.
I try.
And then so that I'm assuming you feel that translate into your work because you're teaching others to be intentional and to, even if it's uncomfortable, right? To look at things and to maybe make pivots and changes. I mean, that's part of what you're teaching, I think, in the leadership stuff, right? Is just that intentionality.
And I think, we say it in yoga all the time. Just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean you're in pain. You're just uncomfortable. And you can sit with it. You can stir it around or let it move. You don't have to change something. You have a choice. But sometimes the choice is to change something, and that's okay. And I think, there's been so many times where I've been uncomfortable that I just move through the world with a screw it attitude. I'm leading with love and I'm being myself, and I am considering everyone's best intentions. And as long as I'm doing that, I can't really care if someone, likes me or not. People aren't thinking about us that often.
So true.
So I just assume everyone doesn't care. And most times they really don't. Not in a negative way, but they're just living their lives.
Yeah. I want to talk about radical wellness because it feels like it's your baby.
It is.
And you taught it at Heartland in the last year. You're going to teach it again coming up, and we want people to come. And I know it's definitely your intellectual property, and you've put a lot of time and effort into developing it. So will you tell us about that? I want people to come out and be a part of it as well.
So radical wellness is kind of a culmination of a lot of the smaller offerings that I have. What I would love is if it could be offered in either a small cohort or even a full day. There's just so much information to receive and talk about. It's really community-led discussion. So the participants give the whole workshop the vibe. No two session is ever the same just because of the different people in it. It is just an overview of how to create and lead more inclusive and accountable spaces. And I think in the past couple of years, when we hear the words diversity, equity, inclusion, we're like, oh, well, it's Black people and women. And it's like, no, it's also, people who need handicap accessibility. It's also, is your location walkable? Can we get there by a bus? What's your pricing like? How do you advertise? What people are in your studio? Identifying your actual leadership values, and then identifying your role, what you can do and what you'll need to delegate. Just being honest about your capacity and kind of setting up the framework to do some of this deeper work. I think with activism, we see the really polarizing people who might be me sometimes, depending on my social media posts. I can get a little loud. But then we see the people who do nothing, and we figure we're either crazy involved or we don't care at all. And it's like there's little things we can do that are really impactful, and everyone has their role. Let the crazy people be crazy, and the people that aren't doing anything, they probably never will. So let's identify where we can be impactful, figure out how you're going to be impactful, and start small. And that's really the goal. It just has to be small, continuous, actionable steps.
Which seems to me, it goes back to your work in the dental world.
It does.
Actionable steps that was such a potent time for you that now is really informing how you're doing this social justice, radical wellness work.
Yeah.
It's funny how to look back on your life. It's kind of what we do in this podcast. It's like, well, let's start at the beginning, and like all these different experiences you've had have just prepared you for where you are right now.
Yeah.
In a really beautiful, profound
just
way.
Life always goes. I was telling somebody about this. This is where I get a little NSW. A mushroom trip I did. And
I love to talk about mushroom trips on this podcast. But go for it.
That's right. I have seen some of your convos.
By the way.
That's true. Good point. And in my trip, I was like in a kaleidoscope, and I was right in the middle of, the beautiful image. I couldn't see anything. It was just blurry. And then I zoomed out, and I'm like, oh my God, my life is a huge, perfectly constructed geometrical design that makes perfect sense. I can't see it because I'm in it. But I was like, I hope I remember this in times where I feel like, what the hell is going on? Because our lives are perfectly orchestrated. They're perfect. We just can't see it. And I mean, perfect is I don't mean like there's never any doom and gloom, but and I also don't like bypassing, horrible shit that happens. But I do think for me, at least, it does all have a purpose, and I hope I hold on to it in times when I doubt it.
Well, you are remembering it because you just respoke it. And that's powerful. And now it's going out into the airwaves. So that's a profound lesson.
Yes.
And I think good for all of us to hear, because you're right. We all get into those dark places, whether it's looking at social media, or looking at the news, or looking at our lives. And there is something powerful around all of these things that are happening, are interconnected, and are pushing us forward to the person we're meant to be. And often it is the pain that seems to hone us the deepest. So I love that we've been on this journey with you today, hearing about your whole life and how everything is interwoven.
Therapy.
That's kind of what we're told sometimes.
Therapist.
And this is the therapy room.
So it's just setting the vibe.
It is.
Yeah. You just settled right in.
Yeah. Well, I do love therapy. So it's like my favorite place to be. This was so wonderful.
Yeah.
Can I ask one last question? Because you planted this question when we communicated over email. You are a learner. You have been a lifelong learner. What are you currently unlearning?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. Well, I'm glad I
planted the seed.
Yes. I have in my death work, one of the things that we are really asked to sit with is quality of life, and what a quality of life means. There's so many people who live with physical or intellectual disabilities. And, I think when someone asks you, like, how far are you willing to go into your life when your quality of life suffers, kind of immediately we're like, oh, if someone else has to care for me in any capacity, I'm done. And it's like, well, really? Because there's a lot of people who need constant care who live extremely fulfilling lives. So physical ability for me is something I am really having to sit with. The privilege to have a healthy body, the privilege to be able to go to the doctor, the privilege to have, like women's health care, to not have to use props if I don't want to in yoga, to be able to have a conversation about how far I would be willing, to travel down my physical disability path. And it's just a thought and not a reality right now. That's something I am doing a lot of unlearning about.
Wow.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's hard, quite honestly, because we take for granted our physical bodies a lot.
Well, and I'm going to share that Kimberly's in the room too, who is a death
doula
as well.
Yeah.
And I guess having experienced with Kimberly a little bit of her work, it feels like the death doulas that I'm coming into contact with in your work are learning so much about life. And that's what you have to teach all of us, because you're so close to death and the experience of it, that it's like informing you more about life that you can then share out to others, which is really a beautiful gift to share, because we're often in our culture so afraid to talk about death, which means we don't really talk about life.
Yeah. Yeah. I even though when I met my dad, he was dead, it didn't feel any less real than meeting him while he was alive. I mean, we spoke when he was alive, but I was like, it's just as sacred.
So you didn't see his body until he was
Correct.
dead.
Yeah.
Okay. You had spoke on the phone, but you never met him.
We had like FaceTimed, but he was in poor health at the time. He had had a stroke, and I was like, ugh, do I go down and meet him? Do I wait until he gets out of the hospital? And I was like, I'll wait. Because oddly enough, even though there's so many siblings, we're all like secret siblings. So I was like the super, super secret sibling. My dad's parents had no clue I existed and would have been like devastated. Old school Southern Black family. They just only children that came from marriage were recognized, and that was only 2 of my siblings. So when I went to the funeral, I just hid in the little shadows. I was respectful to the family. I still got to see my dad, but I was like, it doesn't make it any different for me. We connected while he was alive. This is still his body. His spirit isn't here, but it's still a piece, and it's a piece of a ritual with a parent that I might not get with my biological mom. It's a piece that I wouldn't have had with him ever if I wouldn't have gone. So I think death is just as impactful, and we know that because we live lives without people we love. But being there for death is an amazing experience. Being there after death is amazing and precious and important. And we're missing out on a lot when we choose to kind of live with our blinders up with death.
Yeah. Sarah, thank you so much for living into so many hard topics and questions in this lifetime, whether it's death or racism or oppression. It's really inspiring.
Can I ask you both a question?
Yeah, love it, please.
What are you guys unlearning?
I'm unlearning deep patterns in my family of origin around what it means to be family, about marriage, about just going through a divorce. So, I learned staying, you just stay no matter how painful it is. And so I'm unlearning that that's maybe not necessary.
That's hard.
But really hard because it's going against everything I learned. So I'm learning that sometimes we're asked to go upstream against the current, and that's kind of where life actually feels, to go back to one of your words, most truthful and most authentic. When you're going against the stream, when you're sort of, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But if I would have just stayed with the stream, I would have not been my full self.
Thanks for sharing, Betsy.
Thank you for asking, Sarah. We don't usually get asked questions. I
was like, has anyone ever done it before? Or am I going to be the first one?
I love that you're the first one. The rebel.
The rebel. So if you guys really go that route, now I'll know that it's safe.
I am currently unlearning similarly kind of the patterns I have as the eldest daughter and a codependent with the recovering alcoholic husband, and how they are interconnected and how they've been such a big part of my life and controlled much of my life because of my practices and patterns of kind of rushing to solve things for others and make things easier for others, and how that really has kept me from prioritizing myself a lot, and that I was kind of placed in those roles, I think, very young. And so my whole life up until this point was really, it was just, I thought it was just who I was. I didn't understand that it was what I was doing, like the control I have over that. And so, yeah, I'm unlearning some of those patterns so that I can shift my energy to things that, and to take care of my own self, which is not always easy for me still, but it's definitely, I'm so much more aware of it.
Thank you for sharing, Kate.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I love it.
Okay, we have one last question.
Okay.
All right. So you know that our podcast is based on the women who run with the wolves.
Yes.
The wild woman.
Yes. And
you definitely.
Yes, you
fit
are.
that archetype.
I do know.
Your wild woman archetype through and through.
Little Sarah grounded up in her bedroom.
Yes.
I would still be there if I wouldn't have turned 18, I'm sure.
So she says there are 4 doors into the life of a wild woman. If you have a deep scar, that is a door. If you have an old story, that is a door. If you love the sky and the water so much you can almost not bear it, that is a door. And if you yearn for a deeper life, a full life, a sane life, that is a door. So which door or doors do you just feel drawn to?
I feel like my pain has given me a little glimpse into every door. I don't always have to experience something myself to pick up on it. I feel very deeply for my loved ones, my ancestors, my siblings, the generational trauma that I was born with that I'm going to have to spend the rest of my life undoing and relearning and deprogramming. So I feel like, the blessing in all of the hurt is that I really resonate with all different types of pain. I mean, adoption has given me something, mental illness and depression has given me one thing, not having siblings, being alone and feeling physically alone. They've all kind of given me a different taste of different pains. It's given me a high pain tolerance, and it's just made me really aware. And I think that is kind of what I bring to the table is I have the capacity to hold the space. I'm familiar enough where I can go down the road if you want me to. I know when to hold back. Pain sucks, but it is an amazing teacher if we let it. And that's another thing I'm learning is to just let time be time.
Yeah. And pain has definitely given you purpose.
Yeah, it has, which it shouldn't have to always. But luckily for me, it has. And I think that's a privilege too. There's people whose pain has fucked their lives up.
Yeah.
It has not done that for me. So I'm really grateful. And I think that's part of why I do all of the activism work too. There's people who have no lives anymore because of choices that they've made. And for whatever reason, I've made choices that have earned me, lifetime grounding, but I made it out. So I am grateful and I want to pass on the favor to others. So that's why I'm here.
Well, you
so
are
inspiring.
Bright light and a gift.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I'm so
Thank you,
thankful for
guys.
Thank you for sharing.
Oh.
Okay. And for those of you who want to meet Sarah in person, we would love to have you join us at her, I call it your baby because it feels like your baby, your workshop, Radical Wellness. So it's Sunday, April 12th from 1 to 5, Radical Wellness with Sarah. And yeah, what do you want to share about it?
please
like,
come.
Who should come?
Yeah.
It's really for anyone, right?
For wellness professionals, it's for leaders, space holders, people who are invested in community. Even if you don't own a business, it will teach you better ways to human. It will teach you
better ways to human.
Oh,
Yeah. And I think we all could use that.
yes, I think we could.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So come join us. We're all going to be there. Kate, myself,
Yeah.
Sarah, Kimberly, we're all going to be there. So
Yes.
come join us.
Yeah. Come meet us all.
Yes. Thank you,
group,
Sarah.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Sarah.
you guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks for joining us today. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review. Come back and rewild with us again next week.